Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. For the first time on our channel, we have Tommy Robinson. He's an author, he's a filmmaker, he's a politician, and he has many other shades also. So we'll get to know him. The most important takeaway today from this talk is he's holding a rally in London on the 27th of July. We'll talk to him a little bit about that, its objectives, and how political realignments are taking place in United Kingdom. So let's welcome Tommy Robinson. Tommy, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
So Tommy, talk to us a little bit about the July 27th rally. I know the left has labeled you as far right. I don't take labels. There is no, I'm who I am. I mean, like they call us a right channel. We are not right. We are not center. We are just a media channel. We like to speak the truth. And therefore, I don't know if you like being called a far right. What is right? What is far right? I have no clue. But at the same time, you've done a lot of work spanning multiple things. And viewers don't read his wiki page because they have thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, on him. I don't think the Tommy that we're going to talk about today is as bad as being portrayed there. So, Tommy, first, July 27th rally. Why and what led up to this for you to call this rally? Over to you.
So what led up to it was, since October 7th, we've seen the confidence and the aggression on our streets across the West, not just in the UK, but the takeover of our streets by jihadist organisations, jihadist groups. We've seen jihadist imams calling for jihad in the mosques. We've seen a massive rise in hate and anti-Semitism, and we've seen a massive confidence given to extreme Islamists in the UK and across the West. And our police have failed to deal with it. They literally have been able to run out of control, take over London every weekend. It's become a no-go area for Jews on Saturdays. And we've all watched, just waiting for the police to do something, and they did nothing. They literally, and fear is paralysing, and Islam has our entire political elite and our police force absolutely paralysed with fear, paralysed to deal with them. And we have, and what's become a part of British vocabulary now is two-tier policing, because we see a certain level of policing for the Islamic community, which is kid gloves, and then we see iron fist for everyone else. We see, as you just spoke about, I'm deemed as far right. I'm deemed as far right because I criticise Islam. Okay, that's it. I'm not far right and I'm not far wrong either on the points I make. I simply tell the truth.
So, Tommy, we'll continue this conversation, but I just wanted to let you know, if you go to private chat, there are two links there. One for the YouTube for this conversation, we are live right now, and another one for Rumble. So if you would like to take a couple of minutes to take care of tweeting it out, I'll be happy to, hold the fort for you.
That's no problem, because I use my phone's logged into my Twitter, not my computer. So let me just get your YouTube, and your YouTube is under PGurus. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to YouTube and type PGurus, PGurus.
I've got you.
Yeah.
And live.
And then from there you can share it much easier.
Let's talk about this little known change to UK solar.
Let me share.
Why doesn't every home in the UK
Share.
have brand new solar panels?
Copy link.
The number one reason.
Let's get some English audience in, shall we?
Yes, absolutely.
Live with at PG on YouTube. Right, I've just there you go, mate. And you've shared it. I'll retweet you there. That's the Rumble one.
Okay.
And also on Rumble.
Yeah.
Great. There you go. Both tweeted.
Wonderful. So let me just pick up on what you just said, that you're seeing all these jihadist elements and they're making no excuses. They feel that what they're saying is right, and it's their right to talk about exterminating a group of people from the river to the sea. Many chant this without understanding how this was coined, and I find it truly abhorrent. But Tommy, this is not new for me, who has come from India. This has been going on in India for close to 40, 50 years. And what you're seeing now in UK is just a small reflection of that. Unfortunately, UK is a small place, and everybody knows that if you want people's attention, congregate in London. As a matter of fact, your rally of the 27th right? I Googled on that, okay? There was one mention of your rally, and there are 20 plus mentions of why everybody else should come and stop Tommy Robinson. All you're saying is, look, I mean, I would like to have a chance to have my word too, if you will. So, Tommy, this is now becoming more like a narrative war. More than that, if 5,000 of them turn up and 500 of you turn up, how's the police going to manage all this, in your opinion?
Well, at our last event, we had 30,000. We're expecting huge numbers. We're expecting this to be the largest gathering of patriots Britain's ever seen in our capital city. There's a reason for that, yeah? We feel like our country is being invaded. We feel our culture is under attack. Our identity is under attack. And the safety and the future of our nation is at risk. Now, in England, we've welcomed communities from all over the world from different religions. There have been no problems from the Sikh community. Well integrated, well assimilated, fabulous community. No problems, zero problems from the Hindu community. Absolutely well integrated. Everyone loves them. Yeah, peaceful communities. There's no problems from all these communities that come into the country from the Jewish community. One community has come into this country, and rather than integrate and assimilate, it wishes to dominate. It wishes to declare war. And of course, I'm not saying every Muslim or every follower, but there is a real big problem. And I spoke about this 20 years ago because I'm from a town called Luton Town. Luton Town is 30 miles north of London. When I was born, there was one mosque. There's now 45. We have a 50% Pakistani Muslim population. 50%. Okay. I have seen the changes. And when I started talking about this 20 years ago, the rest of the UK hadn't seen them. Because of the demographical growth of the Islamic community, the problems I spoke about, the rapes of our daughters in every town and city across this country at the hands of Islamic gangs, and not just the fact that these Islamic gangs were raping our daughters across the whole country, they were being allowed to. By our political leaders, you know more than anything. Vote bank politics, yeah? You know in India, you've seen it, yeah? And when I'm talking about grooming gangs, that's 𝗣𝗲𝗿 in India, okay? But it's grooming gangs where Muslims come in, they entice a young girl, she may be 12 or 13 years old, they treat her well, they give her money, then they start giving her alcohol, giving her presents, they seduce her away from the family, they turn the family against them. It's the same scenario, whether it be in India, whether it be in Holland, whether it be in Britain. The same culprits doing the same crimes. And what they do is they target the thing that's most dear to us, our daughters. Our daughters. And this isn't even about sexual gratification. So I'm just getting on to why 30,000 people have come out in the capital last month with us and why this is going to be the biggest thing. There is a massive, huge problem in our country, not just in our country, across the West. And these groups, which are well funded by Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, these countries are funding the growth of Islam in our nation. That's what they're doing. And what we see isn't pretty. It's not good. It's not great. It's not good for Great Britain. It's not good for freedom. We're seeing and the problem is our authorities don't know what to do. Our police forces cannot deal with it. They're too scared to deal with it. Because the minute that if they try to enforce the law, the Muslim community come out aggressively, they riot, they cry victim every time. They'll be the perpetrator and then cry victim. And then the media, I don't know if you followed the story in Leicester last year with the Hindu community. Yeah? The media tried to tell us in Great Britain that the Hindu community were the aggressors. Yeah, that's what the media tried to tell us. And anyone who knows anything about, who's grown up in a multicultural town in Britain, knows the Hindu community not the aggressors. We know that they've faced persecution and violence at the hands of the Islamic community. Islamic radicals, in fact, the main organizer of the anti-Hindu protests in Leicester has just been charged under terrorism this week. Yes,
Najib Freeman.
Yeah, the man the BBC were interviewing, the man the BBC were putting up as the nice face from the Islamic community, who's just been charged with terrorism. Extremists come from all over the country, but the problem is the media are so aligned with them. The media either apologise or support them. But luckily, I was censored for 5 years. Now I've been given my voice back by Elon Musk, which is great because I can reach the British public again, which is why you're going to see what you're going to see on the 27th. I think the entire world is looking at London this weekend. The entire world's looking, and what we're having is a day of celebration. We haven't been able to celebrate our identity. We haven't been able to. The police, if you're walking through London with a St. George's flag, the police will come and treat you aggressively. You can fly an ISIS flag. You can fly Hamas slogans, Hamas literature. but which is a prescribed terrorist organisation, but the police clamp down and treat us all so differently. So our first demonstration on the 1st of June was about the two-tier policing and calling for the leader of the Metropolitan Police Force, Mark Rowley, to resign. This one is about British culture and identity. Now, as I said, this isn't about being white. You don't have to be white to be British. This is a celebration of all those other cultures, all those other communities who are coming to this country, and they love it. My mother was an immigrant to England. My mum comes from Ireland. As a family, we embraced it. I'm English, and so many others have done that. And the problem we see now, due to open border immigration, people will turn, and they are turning. What I want to make sure is they're not turning against the peaceful, decent communities who have come into this country and embraced it and love it. We do have a problem. That problem is from the followers of Islam. It's from one section of the community continually causing us murder, mayhem, rape. They're literally raping their way through our country. Yeah, and whilst they do it, nothing is being done by our authorities or our police forces. So this Saturday, we're going to have massive numbers. We've got a celebration in Trafalgar Square, but it's also the start of a cultural movement. We need a cultural movement. I said we can't vote our way out of this, unfortunately, in the UK because of our voting system. We need our leaders to understand the anger and frustration that the whole country is feeling. We feel like aliens in our own towns and cities. The Islamic demographical growth, and in fact, I looked at India's. I'm coming to India in December, and I looked at India's growth in the Islamic community and what the projected future is for India as well, because we all know the birth rate is demography is destiny, and the birth rate in the UK and the explosion of the Islamic community, it's uncontrollable. It's uncontrollable, and we don't want to lose the identity of our nation. We need to be strong on who we are, and we are a Christian country, and we need to maintain and protect our culture, which is eroding and disappearing. And our politicians simply are facilitating it. They're not standing up for it. They're not, and we know that politicians plan for the next 4 years. These jihadists and the imams, they're planning hundreds of years. Yeah? They don't mind waiting and having babies and babies, so long as we're paying for them. So there's so many things that bring us all together. But the 27th of July, we hope it's a massive success. You're right about when you search for I'm just lucky we have X again, so I can reach the public and speak to them.
Yes, indeed, Tommy. So let me just talk to you a little bit about the nice acronym that you have penned. MEGA, Make England Great Again. I think I couldn't think of any other letter for E.
We're doing Unite the Kingdom, because it's not, because with England, yeah. So I was looking at MEGA, but we will have so many Scottish, so many Welsh, so many Northern Irish. So we want to unite the kingdom and unify everybody. For too long, massive corporations and globalist ideas have tried to break us down. You're white, you're black, you're gay, you're straight, and they want us all broken down and divided. And we want to unify everyone against the biggest threat in our nation. The biggest threat in our nation is mass open border immigration from Islamic nations and the growth of Islam in our country, being facilitated and funded by Iran, Qatar, Saudi, all these countries, which have literally got bases. The Muslim Brotherhood is unchallenged in Great Britain. Yeah, it's banned in Dubai, it's banned in the United Arab Emirates. They come down on them properly. They're not allowed to grow. They're not allowed to riot and kick off and cause mayhem the way they are in our country.
So let me make you wear your politician's hat. Now, we've been seeing these problems since October 9th, and then you just recently had elections concluding in the United Kingdom. And United Kingdom has resoundingly voted for the Labour Party, which is pro all these elements. So somewhere their distrust or hate or they dislike of the party in power, Conservatives, has led to this movement. Looks like, I'm not 100% sure. What are your thoughts? Where do you think you fall? Because there's also this new party, Reform Party. It's opened its account. It's got a few seats. Liberal Democrats have done well. I'm just curious, where is Britain headed as a democracy?
As a democracy, we're not a democracy. Democracy is a facade. It's a total facade. It's ridiculous. So Reform got 4.5 million votes. They got 5 MPs. The Liberal Democrats got 3.5 million votes. They got 70 MPs. Yeah. Where's the representation? Where's the representation? But when you say the majority voted for Labour, they didn't. 20% of the country voted for Labour. 48% of the British public didn't vote. That's us. The reason they didn't vote is they're so disillusioned and they're so fed up with corrupt politicians who do not represent them. Now, what we want to do or need to do in the next 4 years is ignite and give those 48% of people who are disillusioned something to believe in. And they're so fed up because people continue to, like, even the Reform Party. The Reform Party come in. We're meant to trust them to stop the Islamization of our country. The man who funded them the most money is a Muslim businessman. They've just given him the chairman seat. He's bought his position as the chairman of the Reform Party, and we're supposed to trust that they're going to stop the Islamization of our nation.
That's news to me. I didn't know that. I thought it was Nigel Farage.
No, the chairman is now a Muslim gentleman. Yeah, Nigel Farage, the chairman. And you know why? Because he gave them the most money. So it's like, and it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. So, but I believe we've turned a corner in Great Britain. I get to see the public perception of myself and of our ideas, and we are mainstream. For too long, they've made people think that our ideas are a fringe element in the UK. We are the majority. The majority of the British public have had enough. The majority are against mass immigration. The majority are against sexualisation of children, transgenderism. Everything that's celebrated in this country is everything that weakens this country. What brings a strong country? A strong family and a strong identity and a strong understanding of who you are and where you've come from will create a strong nation. And they have broke that down. They want to bring our children up. They want to sexualize them. They want to pollute their minds. They want boys to become girls. All of this is an organized attack, not just on the West. It's an attack on humanity. It's an attack across the whole globe. But certain countries are accommodating it, which is ours. All of our politicians are bending over backwards. They bend over backwards for every ideology that wishes to destroy our nation. They got on their knees for Black Lives Matter. They were weak. They cower in fear to Islam. Do you know that since the time of Winston Churchill or Sir William Gladstone, not one single politician out of 650 has spoke about Islam? Not one politician. Think about what's happened in this country from the beheading of one of our soldiers, ·Lee·Rigby. Still no one spoke about Islam. Do you know after ·Lee·Rigby was beheaded, and this is ·Lee·Rigby was a soldier who was beheaded in his uniform outside an army barracks. He was beheaded by 2 Muslim converts. Now, when he was beheaded, the convert handed a woman in the street 52 verses from the Quran that he says made him do it. Now, the next day, this is where they just deceive the public. The next day, Nick Clegg, who was our Deputy Prime Minister, he stood on TV and he said, do you know what it says in the Quran? It says if you kill one man, you kill all of humanity. And if you save one man, you save all of humanity. But if it had carried on reading that exact verse, it then says, unless they cause mischief. And if they cause mischief, they must be executed, have their hands and feet cut off, or exiled from the land. The exact verse that Lee·Rigby's killer used to justify murdering the soldier in our country is the exact verse that was misrepresented, and the public were deceived. We cannot have a dishonest discussion about the motives or the reason we have 4,000. We have 40,000. 40,000 Muslim jihadists on a terror watch list. 40,000. We only have 80,000 members of the British Armed Forces. Out of that 40,000, 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a cost of £9 billion. Now, all of these attacks, we've had the Ariana Grande concert where they blew up children, over 20 deaths. Still no discussion on Islam. Still no, and they call you far right or extreme for wanting to question why this is happening. As I said, we've had Sikh immigration, Hindu immigration, Jewish immigration. None of them have gone through our country raping and pillaging in the way that the Islamic community have. Muslim men make up 2.5% of the British population. They are responsible for 90% of the convictions in groups of men that rape young children. 90%. 30% of the men convicted are called Muhammad. You're not even allowed to ask why. So we say, okay, so why are they so overrepresented? Why do they see it okay that brothers, cousins, fathers, sons are raping children together? This is unthinkable to any other culture. It's unthinkable to any other religion. So, but when you ask these questions, it's when you're shut down, you're silenced. And unless you, and my argument all the time is, if you don't understand the crime, you're never going to stop it. If you want to just pretending it's a few, and I just have to, so people in India understand the scale of the problem that's happening in Great Britain. I done a 5-part series called The Rape of Britain. It's in a town. It's a documentary series. It's in a town called Telford. Now in Telford had 1,000 children that were victims of these gangs. Yeah, and the police identified 200 Muslim culprits. Okay, out of the 1,000 victims, 5 were murdered. Yeah. This town has a 1.7% Muslim population. There's no Muslims there. Out of that 1.7%, when you get rid of the under 16s, the women, you have 1,000 Muslim men, yeah, of the age that are involved in these rapes. As I just said, The police identified 200. That's 20%. We in our 18-month investigation, we identified 264, 26%. An independent inquiry identified over 300. You talk 20 to 30% of the Muslim men in that town were raping their way through young children in the town. This is not a small problem. And out of the 200 men that were identified by the police, they prosecuted 11. 11. That's it. The crimes are so big, we do not have the prison spaces to deal with the criminals that are doing these crimes. And this is on every subject to do with the Islamic community, even female genital mutilation. 40,000 young British girls, because they're British, they may be born in, they're Muslim, but they're born in Britain, they should be protected. 40,000 of them have had their genitals mutilated. That carries a 14-year prison sentence, yeah? If our authorities prosecuted the parents, that would fill every single prison place in Great Britain. Yeah, one person has been prosecuted. 40,000 victims, their lives destroyed forever. The young girls, because obviously the Muslim men believe they should just be there for sex. That's it. So they have that negative view towards the women and the females, and then the Muslim females, let alone the non-Muslim females. So yeah, there's so many problems in this country that have been, I say, tolerated, not just tolerated, hidden from the public. This conversation we're having now, you weren't allowed to have. We've broke down barriers. We've made it. We've shifted the Overton window on what's acceptable to say and what the public have knowledge of. Because this was covered up for 30 to 40 years by all religious leaders, political leaders, police leaders. There was a conspiracy between all of them to hide the reality of the problems from the Islamic community. We keep getting told diversity is our strength and Islam means peace. It's like they gaslight us every time. Islam means peace. And we know it doesn't. And we're concerned. We're worried as an Englishman with 3 children. We're terrified of what the future holds for Great Britain. We're terrified.
Tommy, you're part Irish, part British, right? Mom is Irish and father is British. Is that correct?
Mum's Irish, father was English.
English, right. Sorry about that. So see, this makes him acceptable to a wider swath of people is what I was trying to hint at. The takeaway about, at least starting to send the illegal immigrants. Britain had an agreement in place with Rwanda. And even a token gesture of sending 166 people or something like that, that flight was supposed to have left in the conservative period. Looks like that did not leave, and looks like Keir Starmer has come and shuttered the program. Why are you guys sticking it to yourself? That's the question I have, Tommy.
Because they're replacing us with loyal voters, and the Tory party just handed the baton over to the Labour Party. The Labour Party have come in. The Labour Party appease Islam and the Islamic community. And I'll give you an example. In my hometown of Luton, this was 2013. I think we had 20 mosques at the time, yeah? And the leader of the council just does a deal with the local, they have a council of mosques. So one leader talks to the council from all their mosques and they do a deal for the vote. And they get 40,000 votes. And that's it. And the Islamic community organise themselves in a military fashion when it comes to voting. Yeah? We don't have, because the churches are empty now, the pubs are all being closed. We don't have a community feeling the way that they do. Ours has been broken. Okay, they still have it. So they do deals with our local Labour, and Labour knows. So I looked at the growth forecast in 2013 by 2030, and I looked at Luton, and the Bangladeshi and Pakistani community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black community by 1.2 to 1.3%. So the local Labour Party, they don't care about the white community or the black community because they know the future of their politics is with the Islamic community. And that's what we're seeing across the UK. Now, there's been a big fallout in this recent election because the Muslim community felt betrayed because Labour didn't all go for the ceasefire in Israel. So Gaza politics, our entire election was about Gaza. The people standing for representation weren't talking about, say, for example, the man elected in Rochdale or in Leeds. They weren't talking about the politics and what people need in Rochdale or Leeds. They were talking about Gaza. When they won the election, it was all about Gaza. They're all screaming Allah Akbar. We have just elected. We've just seen elected. As people think it's great that Reform got 5 MPs. Pro-jihadists got 5 MPs. 5 independent MPs have been elected who are pro-jihad into our parliament. That's now. Now, the Islamic community, when people think about it, the Islamic community And again, I'll give the figures in Manchester. I looked at Manchester, yeah, and this is the biggest weapon they have, is to continually say, oh, we're only a small number. No, you're not, yeah, and they're growing like that. Because in Manchester, when the Ariana Grande concert was attacked by Salman Abedi could recite the Quran. We keep getting told he wasn't a good Muslim. He could recite the Quran without looking at it. Yeah, he knew what Islam was. Okay, and he blew up the children's concert in Manchester. And when he did that, I looked at the Muslim community of Manchester, and it had 25,000 in Manchester. And 10 years later, it had 50,000. And 10 years later, it had 100,000. Yeah, it's doubling every 10 years. Then we know what comes next. Goes to 200,000. That 200 becomes 400,000. Manchester only has a 500,000 population. You're only 20 to 30 years from the entire city of Manchester disappearing and being held by Islam. Now, in other communities, we have other communities. The demographics are not changing like that, because people try and I hear other people who oppose me. They call me a race traitor. They call me all these different things. I say, no, none of these other communities who have come here are causing a problem. None of these other communities are exploding demographically. They're going to make us a minority, yeah, in our own country. It's just the Islamic community. Now, there wouldn't be so much of a problem if we didn't see the violence, the aggression, the hostility, and the refusal to assimilate or integrate at all. So there's a massive problem. And unfortunately, anyone who tries to have this discussion is attacked. Well, this has been the case. I've been in activism for 15 years, but we've turned a corner now. The public don't care. The media no longer have the monopoly. They don't have the control. I think I made a little video yesterday. It's on 1.5 million views on my X account. Yeah. So their ability to tell people who we are has gone. I was talking like this 15 years ago. People weren't ready to listen to this discussion 15 years ago because people didn't realize the problem. Now they look across Europe, and you can see when I first started my activism, the Swedish Democrat Party were on 1.5% vote. They're now mid-20s. Yeah. Things have shifted. Things have changed. They've shifted because everyone in Europe is seeing Europe has changed. To many in India, you probably picture London in a certain way. You picture the capital city of Great Britain. It's gone. It's not the capital you think it was. It's not safe. We have an Islamist little Pakistani mayor who has failed on integration, failed on rapes have gone through the roof, criminality's gone through the roof, but he still gets voted back in. Because their community are not voting on policies or anything. They're simply voting on religion every time.
In your opinion, what percentage of London is Muslim today?
In my opinion, again, and I can only talk to you about my hometown, yeah? Again, I'll talk about London. And I had a meeting with the main imams in my hometown. And at the time, there was 40,000 Muslims. That's what the statistics said. And I said, look, there's 40,000 Muslims here. And he just started laughing, the imam. He said, double that. Tommy, you know. And he looked at me like I was stupid. He said, you know, you can double that. I said, so whatever figures we're given, and they continually tried to hide the figures. Yeah. There's no way this country is 5% Muslim. I've been across the whole country. I've been to all the cities. There's no way. Yeah. There is no way. Okay. But they want us to continually believe this until the problem's that bad. And what we keep saying is, if we don't solve this now, and again, this isn't a British problem. This isn't a Indian problem. It's not a European problem. This is a worldwide problem. Either the world needs to unite and understand that Islam wishes to conquer. It wishes to subjugate. Okay, that's the teachings of Islam. These are the core pillars of the teachings. People keep saying yes, but that's an extremist interpretation. No, it's not. I was on India. What was I on? I was on Indian TV this week, and the lady was talking about Islamism. And that what we've done in this country now is our politicians feel comfortable to criticize Islamists and Islamism. But I just asked a simple question: was the Prophet Muhammad an Islamist? Was he an Islamist? With your definition of Islamism, was the Prophet Muhammad an Islamist? And they're like that. I said, yeah, he was. So anyone who wishes to follow perfectly in the teachings of him. So the problem is the teachings by Muhammad. People don't understand what those teachings are. You've got so many absolutely ignorant. They call us ignorant to our politicians. I think you have no idea what the teaching. You have no idea of Muhammad's life. He beheaded 600 people in one day. He raped. He pillaged. He was a barbarian. Yeah, he was not a perfect moral being for the world to allow this idea into our nation and grow and try and shut us all down when we're trying to warn you of what may come. And there's 55 nations we can look to in history to see what comes. We all know what comes. We all know what comes. We know what the future is going to hold, and it's a terrifying for many of us. But until I think the world needs to unite, groups across the world need to start uniting and stand in the face of it. Because, as I said, Islam is united. It's united. You may have their little factions that disagree with each other, but not when it comes to subjugating non-Muslims or jihad.
Tommy, last question. I'm taking a step back, and I'm asking you again to wear your politician's hat. Look, there is only so much illegal immigration any country can take, because for funding that, what do? There are two options. One is you tax your people more. Second is you print more money. And I see UK not having a choice as far as printing the money is concerned. It's already not so powerful that it can print more notes and hope that nobody will dilute them. So which means they're going to tax you more. Is that what is happening? And when is this thing going to stop? It doesn't matter whether it is a left or a right government. They need to understand that balancing the books, it's going to come and bite you at some point. What are your thoughts?
There's a 177-page dossier from the United Nations called replacement migration. That's what we're witnessing. This isn't a mistake. 8 million people have not gone through Joe Biden's border in 4 years by mistake. Yeah, literally, Gaddafi was removed, opened the floodgates to Europe. They knew what would happen. Yeah, literally, NGOs funded by the German government are picking these men up and bringing them in. They're bringing them in to break down our communities. They're breaking down our identity. They're breaking down everything about our country. We're all going to be arguing with each other whilst they wish to create their world system, their world countries, and they need to weaken our identity. They need to weaken men, feminize men. They need to weaken the family. So none of this is a mistake. It's all there in black and white. If you look at what they're doing, the Barcelona Declaration, you read all these things. We are being replaced, and we're being replaced by aggressive, hostile communities. And that's what we're witnessing. So our politicians are in on it, unfortunately. And none of them are brave enough to stand up against it. Because when you do try and stand up against it, you're cancelled, you're attacked, or you're imprisoned. Do you know, right now I face 2 years in prison. I'm now going to be sentenced to 2 years in prison for making a film. I made a film called Silence. Yeah? That film was made, and it proved the unholy alliance of the media, the government, the police, all of them working together to control a narrative. There was a news story in the UK. This news story went out, and it was global news. Yeah? It hit the news in India. It went on American news. It went on Australian news. The story was that a Syrian refugee had been violently and racially bullied in a school in the north of England. Yeah? And there was a video of him getting water poured on his head. And the headline said he was waterboarded. Yeah? Now, very quickly, people from the school, teachers, parents, and girls started telling me that this isn't the truth. Yeah. So I then made a video saying you're being lied to. They took me through the courts and they sued me. Now, to prove my case, I wore a hidden camera and I went to the teachers' houses, and I got all the teachers on camera saying they've been paid not to tell the truth. And I said, who paid you? 𝗖𝗄𝘁 Council. So I looked at who's the head of 𝗄𝘁 Council. His name is 𝗣𝗵𝗵𝗏. He's a Muslim. Now I looked at who his brother was. His brother is a lead extremist imam. Yeah, and his brother was the one. I don't know if you saw in the school in North England in Batley, a teacher had a discussion about Muhammad. The teacher's still in hiding now. Yeah, there was mass Muslim protests outside the school calling for his death. So that was his brother. These Muslims who are running the council spent £275,000 buying the silence of the teachers. I got 7 teachers on tape saying they were paid to lie. Yeah, and then so when I go to court, I produce all these recordings, including the school records. Because this Syrian refugee was portrayed to the world as innocent and a victim. Yeah, what we found out in his school records was that he stabbed pupils. He got caught with a knife and screwdriver. He had 177 disciplinaries. He was invited to our parliament. And the reason being for this is where we get the reasons why they've done this. So they totally lied about the whole story to the entire British public. And anyone who got in the way, they silenced. So they got court orders. They used court orders against me to gag me, to say I get 2 years in jail if I ever show any of this evidence to the public. And it's evidence. It's covert recording, school records to prove that they totally lied. The most terrifying thing about this is, if they lied about this story, how many other stories are they lying about every day? How much are we seeing on the mainstream media, which is total deception? And the reason for the deception is to push a certain narrative. Then the narrative being pushed to the British public was Syrian refugees are victims and white English people are racist. And that was the total opposite to what this was. And the reason they can't have you question that is because the British government at that time, under the Conservative Party, bought 20,000. They bought 20,000 Syrian refugees against the wishes of the British public. Now, this was the problem. This one refugee was running around the school, attacking girls, attacking everyone. Yeah, that's the reality of their failed immigration policy. So rather than have that questioned, they simply hid it, and then they destroyed my life for reporting the truth. So then they got a court order gagging me, and that film was leaked 2 years ago, yeah, in America. So the film I made, which proves totally there's no grey area. If you watch this film, Sree, and you will be able to soon, yeah, you watch this film, everyone can see what they've done. Yeah, they lied. They used a corrupt judge. It's impossible to come to the verdict he come to. Now that film was leaked 2 years ago in America. As soon as I organised my first demonstration back in London, because I hadn't been demonstrating, I'd been deplatformed and censored. I got given back my X account. I come back to the UK because I was living in Spain. I come back to the UK and I organised my first protest. Within 48 hours, my lawyers received a letter from the Attorney General government to say they'll be prosecuting me. Yeah, within 48 hours for something that happened 2 years ago. So they use, the courts are used, they're politicised and they're weaponized to target people. I don't know if this is happening in India, but Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, Marine Le Pen, Geert Wilders, all of them who have gone against the mainstream narrative, against the establishment, against the globalists, have all faced court orders or been sued, had their houses taken. So the courts are used as a weapon. It's not a justice system. It's not a justice system. I stood outside the Royal Courts of Justice yesterday, filming. The Royal Courts of Justice, this isn't a justice system, this is a legal system. I've never had a jury. So when you go on my Wikipedia and you read about my convictions, I've never been tried by a jury. Never. So I now face again a judge who's going to probably send me to jail. But the difference is now, and I want to give some optimism, the public are awake more than they've ever been. The British public, people talk about the British public and British people being lions and having courage and I think that's about to be awoken. Watch on the 27th of July. Watch this Saturday. A sleeping lion is awakening. And it's going to roar like they've never heard. Because everyone is so... I mean, people don't just walk past me in the street and say, all right, Tommy, I feel their emotion, their passion. People have... something. I can see what's happening. I think the 1st of June was a start. Tomorrow, we're going to... not tomorrow, this Saturday... we're going to have the biggest numbers London's ever seen, and we're going to put on a spectacle, but also deliver a very important message and a blow to the establishment. But we have a long, strong battle up ahead.
A few people are asking, where is the rally starting and at what time?
The rally starts at 12 o'clock at the Royal Courts of Justice, and then we leave there at 1 o'clock for a march. And I'd like to make we at the last one, do not believe the media. Never believe the media. They wish to portray these events as something different. The diversity in our crowd was huge. I was happy that we're finally reaching through to the public. So if you have any Indians, Hindu supporters, Sikh supporters, come along. You'll be loved, open, and you'll be welcomed with open arms. We, as British people, are grateful. I'm grateful I'm grateful to Britain for giving people an opportunity, but I'm grateful to certain communities that have come here and embraced it and caused no problems. You couldn't ask for better communities. Hardworking, integrated, assimilated, and love Great Britain. And love Great Britain, but still have their identity. So, yeah, everyone's welcome at our event. It's going to be fabulous. We're going to have a great day, and we're going to, and you know, the opposition keep going on about hate. It's like there's no hate. We're full of love. We love our country. We love our country. We're not going to be silenced anymore.
Thank you so much, Tommy, and I wish you all the best. And viewers, you know the details, where it's starting, and we will be following this event keenly, and I hope you don't have to go to jail again, Tommy. God knows you've already spent enough time there. You know, jokingly, in some of the languages in India, a jail is also referred to comically as your mother-in-law's home. So
yeah, I'd rather go to jail. No, I wouldn't. That's wrong, actually. My mother-in-law was lovely, so no, that's wrong.
Well, this is a joke. No disrespect.
Do you know what our jails are? Do you know what our jails are? Our jails are ISIS training camps. Islam has taken over every jail. Yeah, every jail. They control it. They totally control it. And the government, again, you've got terrorists being put in jail with car thieves or drug dealers. We need actual prisons for prisoners of war, because we're at war. Islam's at war with us. Yeah. Sooner our politicians realise that, the better. in turn, these jihadists, stop watching them and monitoring them, waiting for them to kill us and maim us, get rid of them. So, but yeah, I look forward to Saturday 27th. We're going to succeed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you.